It's now my pleasure to introduce two certified B Corps. It's Christian Møller-Holst, CEO and founder of the Danish B Corp company Goodwings.com, and you're already sitting down. Excellent, Christian. I'll join you here. And you run the company, the Copenhagen-based company and platform, Goodwings. And also with us here we have Hannes, and Hannes Skogholm is Chief Mission Officer at Urbit. And you're responsible for commercial, operational, and also positive impact programs that support your mission, right?
That's correct. And
to deliver urban logistics services that create a positive impact on society and also on the environment. So what a team, huh? And what an introduction you gave, Pedro. Wonderful. It just felt like there is indeed hope and there is space for more companies to join you, right? So, Christian, please tell us about Goodwings.
Thank you, Katarina, and thank you, Hannes and Pedro, for sharing this moment with me. Goodwings is a response to the climate crisis, but it's also a response to what I would dare to say, the ignorance of an industry, the travel industry, which has shown very little, if any, leadership in the last 15, 20 years, ever since travel became digital. And the fact is, we have walked and traveled the earth ever since we migrated out of Central Africa 200,000 years ago. It's part of our nature to be mobile. But the problem is the scope and the way we travel is destroying our planet. So we have to find a way of dealing with that. So what we've chosen to do at Goodwings is to turn the industry into a force for climate action. Because when you look under the hood, online travel is not really travel, it's advertising. 70% of the revenues are being allocated to more TV commercials. So we say no, first and foremost. So what we do is we are hacking the industry. So we're introducing a membership fee that you can become a member as an individual or a business, and that's our revenue. And that makes us not rely on the bookings. So we are not in a position where we're promoting travel. We're not encouraging people to travel unless they have to. But we also acknowledge that you do have to travel sometimes as an individual, family, or business. So when you travel with us, you book your hotel on Goodwings, you have the same 1.5 million hotels and prices too. But we take the revenue and we invest that money in projects that are verifiably removing carbon from the atmosphere. So you can reach carbon neutrality or net zero with your travels. And if you're a business, we also provide emissions data and certifications and so on. So we cannot do this alone. So on one end, we have our clients, and I learned this morning that Urbit is a client of ours, so thank you for being part of our journey. Couldn't have a better way to kick off the day.
All right.
And if we are successful in having thousands or tens of thousands of businesses with us, we can reach our 2030 goal, which is to remove emissions from 1 billion trips. So if we deliver on this, and that will require 25 to 30,000 SMEs, which is not unrealistic, we'll be removing 0.8 billion tons of carbon. It's 16 times what Denmark is emitting in a year.
16 times the Danish emissions.
National emissions per year. So the power of the industry is immense, but they're using the power wrong. They're using it for obsolete commercials that they think will drive us back and are driving us back.
So basically, instead of ads, it's trees or other good projects to draw down carbon.
At the moment, it's trees, nature-based removal, all verified. We're looking into biofuels, so we can avoid carbon to be emitted, and e-fuels and hydrogen and other solutions. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Hannes, we're curious now, what does Urbit do?
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say big thanks for hosting us here today. It's an absolute honor to be here with you, Christian and Pedro. Brilliant. And yes, in fact, we're a client of Goodwings as of yesterday. I met with your sales rep, and halfway into the pitch, I basically said, well, you can stop right there. This is a no-brainer. Why should I say no? So yes, we're a client of Goodwings as of yesterday. Cheers for that, Christian. Urbit. So we are a B Corp certified last mile delivery business. Now, what that means is super straightforward. We're going to take any online purchase that you make, and we're going to deliver it to your door without using cars, vans, and trucks. In fact, we're going to rely completely on cargo bikes. right?
Cargo bikes.
So I wake up every morning and I dream about removing cars, trucks, and vans from the streets of London, Paris, Madrid, and all of the other cities in which we operate. Now, what's really cool about Urbit, I think, is that we were founded on the premise that we want to be successful by doing good, right? And it turns out that in urban transport, there is a massive opportunity, an important opportunity to do so. So why care? Why is it important, right? If you look around you today, you're going to realize that anything you see in this room, including yourselves, has been transported in here today. Now, urban transport and roads, it's literally the bloodstream of our economy. However, it has a massive impact on our lives, an underappreciated impact on our lives. And I don't mean that in a positive way whatsoever, unfortunately. We're talking air quality, we're talking road accidents, we're talking greenhouse gas emissions, we're talking noise pollution, and the list goes on, right? And here's the main thing. The problem is growing exponentially.
Since the cities are growing.
That as well, but also people are demanding goods to be delivered to their home, and e-commerce is growing like crazy. So the last mile industry will double over the next 5 years. Meaning if we stay with the status quo right now, what you're gonna see is the same old model, the delivery man in a van model, and our streets will not be able to cope, right? So that's the doomsday part of it, right? But what are the good news then, right? The good news number one, and I'm here talking about Urbit, obviously, that's a solution, not the only solution. But good news number one is that 50% of everything that is transported on the streets in cities today can be delivered with a cargo bike, with a smaller vehicle that gets rid of all of this problem, right? And here's the even cooler thing. Good news number two, it's more economically viable to do so, right? And that's the really interesting thing that I hope that we can talk about today as well, the whole paradigm that sustainability comes at a premium. And it doesn't. It's the main question I get in all pitches and all sales meetings. Well, we can't afford you because this is too expensive. It's not. It's not. Paying fair wages is more expensive. It's not a topic. But sustainability doesn't come at a premium, right? So what gives me a whole lot of hope is that when I'm looking over our sector in transport and a whole lot of other sectors as well, hearing from you two today, of course, is that we're actually seeing real solutions, solving real problems, and it's the core part of the business model. And if we can live by that, if we can adopt that as the way forward, then we're going to move from words to action. Yeah. And then we're onto something.
Absolutely. Just a short comment here. A friend of mine, she actually moved her entire apartment on a cargo, on a service like yours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sofas and everything, beds.
That's a wonderful story. We should write something about that.
Bookshelves, everything.
I love that.
Yeah. And she was very happy with it too.
Yeah.
So, Pedro, when you hear a Goodwing story, an Urbit story, and when you connect it with value proposition, what are your thoughts here?
Well, we're all basically part of the same movement, and the same spirit is behind all of us, you see. And it's I would say it's new in these 50 years after Stockholm, and that suddenly business can elevate its purpose to be part of the solutions of society or of the planet. And we can basically build a collective legacy of solutions. You see, so one thing is that we act individually. Another thing is when we elevate our purpose. I mean, we have very similar purposes, but we belong to different industries. And we innovate in our business models and in our law. You see, it's a combination. As a Latin American, I must say something. It's the first time that I can connect my inner soul, my callings, with the core business and with the law. I don't know if this is applicable elsewhere, but it's the first time I can be myself, fully myself, through this kind of DNA.
That's wonderful. It really sort of resonates. I can tell when you talk about it. Christian,
could I just add to the
Sure.
to the value proposition? I think, as Hannes explicitly explained, and I hope I also did, I think there's an aspirational and functional value of companies offering products or services that are contributing to creating a better tomorrow. But I think also the value proposition is also the accessibility, that we're democratizing everyone's ability to become part of the solution. Because before it was policymakers or legislation or big companies, but now you see small and medium-sized companies, you see consumers voting with their wallet. And that interaction between your friend who deliberately chose to move her stuff in an urban way, this I think is part of the value proposition, that we're offering the access.
Would you like to add, Hannes?
No, I think it comes back again to the sustainability premium, right? If you can remove that, then actually you have a service that is accessible to everybody, which is the way forward.
So a big question here, what does this really matter in the bigger picture? I mean, for people listening to this, what an impact can this have if more companies follow suit? What kind of leverage does this really have, Pedro?
Well, you have, first of all, I mean, business or companies are not alone in society. So for me, I would say they're the enabling lever for millions of people to also elevate their purpose while doing, trading or buying or investing or even learning education with a different logic. So it's a paradigm shift to start with. And that's what we need. I mean, we come from maximizing profit and minimizing cost. I mean, that's what we all come from, right? How we change that to maximize solutions through profit and by minimizing cost, of course. But it's a completely new way of doing it. So the cost becomes part of the opportunity for a new cycle. You see, circularity is very much associated to regeneration. So what I feel is that business is connected to the billions. And today we need the billions to be on a daily basis participating in this evolution. Because otherwise, I don't think we can make it.
But what you tell us, it is possible, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, and that it's extremely hopeful. So Hannes, in terms of when you found the sort of the epiphany, the moment when you started this company or decided to work with it, when did you realize that this was really resonating with you, and what was it that made you feel this is really what I want to do?
Absolutely. I think an interesting story that many people in this room might experience as a consumer as well is that moment when you're actually ordering a couple of things online, right? And what might happen to you is that 3 different vans from 3 different companies will show up to the same door in the same day, right? That's 3 trips. And the tragedy here really is that all of these 3 companies are probably struggling with their profitability, right? It's a market that is driven by density, right? But they're all servicing the same area. So it's sort of the tragedy of the common here, right? And at the expense of our environment. So literally a sad moment, right? And the question there that I have as well to my esteemed panelists, right, is you're asking us, why does it matter? I think it matters because you're looking at companies here that literally believe in collective action, that believe in being brave and asking our government and asking ourselves, is there a better way forward here? Can we literally look at a city like Stockholm and say, you know what, this company will serve this area, right? And we're going to reduce the number of trips by half. And looking at other industries, it is an absolute no-brainer. If you look at e-scooters or mobile cellular masts or, let's say, fishing rights, it is a no-brainer that we look into collective action. And we need to do that in more industries. It's simple as that. It's the way forward.
Excellent, excellent, Hannes. And in terms of the differences between the northern and the southern hemisphere in this thinking, this process, you're in the travel industry more or less, Christian. Are there differences? And if not, what unites us?
When I visit the B Corps and participate in the events in the B Corp movement globally, it's universal. The willingness to participate and contribute is the same. I think, as we've talked about from time to time, is the things that I take with me when I visit continents like Latin America is the connectedness to Mother Nature. I think to some extent we've lost that in Western Europe, Northern Europe. It's a rational approach to the climate crisis. It's 1.5 degrees or 2.5 or etc. Whereas the appreciation of nature itself is something that the South can teach us, and probably a lot of other things as well. But the approach and the decision to take part is definitely universal.
What would you like to add, Pedro? I saw you wanted to add
Well,
something.
yes. I mean, to be quite direct and bold, I'm part of the human project on Earth, and that means life on Earth. And I could have been born anywhere in the world, and the economy today seems to be one. And the DNA of the economic system, and let's face it, we call it capitalism, needs to evolve. And capitalism was driven by, if you want, without a bad purpose, but it was driven by greed. And how do we expand, if you want, this, from selfish interest to enlightened interest, where we include society and the planet. And that we do wherever throughout the world. And whatever we can learn from you, will be useful for us. It's inspirational. And, feeling part of this movement as a global movement is very, it's very, optimistic, because suddenly we can do, we can actually move forward. Actually, in Latin America, the cities have become very crucial in this move. Over 18% of the GDP, at least in Latin America, has to do with government procurement. So just imagine, the city of Mendoza in Argentina has approved 3 weeks ago a new regime for what we call triple impact procurement, public procurement.
Wonderful.
And that moves the market.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and the University of Mendoza, sorry for speaking about ourselves, the University of Mendoza, the business school, now teaches, you can graduate as a standard student, as an impact business administrator. And that makes us feel very good, because then we are training the people who are going to be working in the companies. And the whole thing starts moving in that direction.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for sharing Goodwings and Urbit, your wonderful business examples. And of course, you talked about your beverage before. And the overall picture you painted for us, it's truly hopeful and engaging. And the world is listening. We have viewers from all over the world here. So just join the movement, right?
Yeah.
Please.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you, Katerina.
Thank you.